European confessions, please post for me as hi. I would like to share a story on how I killed my mother to use her on a monetary ritual. This is my story in detail. It all started in 2008 when things were really hard in Zimbabwe. My family was struggling really hard that I couldn't even fend for them even one meal a day. We had a big family because I had 4 kids and my wife. All of my kids were going to school, so they needed school uniforms. They also needed stationery and food to go to school. That same year, I lost my job and I became jobless. I started surviving on pieceworks where I would go as a garden cleaner and my wife would be as a housemaid. That same year, my child got sick, and this led me into selling all the cattle that I had just to send her to the hospital. After my child's recovery, things started being hard for us because even those jobs, we couldn't find them. My wife left me and went to South Africa to look for a job. She left the kids with me, and as a father, I had nothing I could do but send them to their maternal home. I sent them to their grandmother, who was a little bit better in fortune, and she looked after them. I started hustling, struggling to look after myself that sometimes I would sleep on an empty stomach. One day when I was looking for a job, walking in the streets, I was so distracted that I couldn't hear a car that was coming behind me. Neshi, this is when this car stopped just before it hit me. As this man came out who was driving this car, he wanted to scold me, but then that's when I realized that he was a one-time friend from high school. He was so shocked to see me and he asked why I was absent-minded. He offered me a ride and he took me to one of the restaurants in town and bought food for me. I was really happy and delighted because that day I had not had a meal in the day before. Neshi, what happened is that I told my friend about how my life had turned into a mess. I narrated to him about my wife leaving, going to South Africa to look for a job, and I also told him about my kids who I had sent to their maternal grandmother's house. He told me that there was a way he could help me out so that I could live a better life. Neshi, I was so eager to get helped because my life was a really big mess and I wanted to rectify the mistakes that I had done. I also wanted to get my wife back and look after my kids because I had loved them all equally. I even understood that my wife's leaving was because of the situation, not because he never loved me. My friend one day called me to his house where he told me about these monetary rituals that we can do so that we can have money. He told me that he knew of a nganga who would help us get money through these monetary rituals. I told him I could do anything, I could sacrifice anything just to get out of this life. That is when he told me that tomorrow at night we would be going to visit that nganga so that he can help me be a better person. Neshi, that night I had a sleepless night, thinking of what I was going to be doing. One of my thoughts told me that this was wrong, but the other one told me that it was worth it because I had nothing that would bring income to me. I got courageous and woke up that night and went to that nganga. When I visited him, I saw him with some other men who were there. These men were dressed in black and red coats, which were tied with red ribbons. Neshi, I was scared when I saw the nganga because he seemed to be a very old man, a man who was about 90 years old. I was shocked with his survival in this world. This man seemed to have powers because he could tell you to sit down, but you wouldn't sit down on your own. Just by telling you to sit down, you would see yourself sitting down. My friend told me that I should come here with my whole heart and I should not think of other things while performing this ritual. This nganga gave me a certain herb that he told me I should keep it in my wallet, and he gave me a small bottle. This small bottle had a worm like that was moving in it and water. He told me that this worm should stay in my house at a locked place where nobody would open. I did as I was told and went back home. He told me that after 3 days I should come back to his place where he would tell me if he has actually accepted me for initiation, and he would tell me the sacrifice that I should make. After 3 days I went back and he told me that since I was accepted I had to kill my mother a sacrifice. The Nganga told me that I should try these private parts and they would be used to create a charm. After trying these private parts, they were used to create a charm that I was given to put into water, and the water I would bath with it for 3 days. I did as I was told, and after 3 days, money started flashing into my house, and I would see bags of money filled with money inside the house. That is when I started buying cars, I started buying houses and opening businesses. After opening businesses in the city, my life started running smoothly. I called my wife back home and she came back. I took my kids and started looking after them. Years passed while I was staying with my wife, but my wife started becoming suspicious on how I was now becoming rich. This led her into going to prophets and asking about how I attained this wealth. My wife got to know about how I killed my mother and she ran away. She left a note telling me that she knows about how I killed my mother and she would want to expose me sometime. This made me scared and I went after her, looking after her at her parents' house, and I couldn't find her. I realized that she had gone out of the country. I went back to the Nganga because I wanted to also kill my wife so that she wouldn't expose me. That is when the Nganga told me that her blood was too strong and she couldn't be killed so easily. She would only be killed if I see her in person. This was a hard task for me because I couldn't see her and I never knew where she was. I asked the Nganga if there was any way I would know where she was, and she told me that there was no way I could know where she was. The Nganga told me that I should deal with this matter very cleverly because if anybody else ever gets to know about this or exposes me, I would lose all the fortune that I have. My mother now comes to me as a ghost and she cries to why I had killed her. She wants me to confess and leave all those monetary rituals that I'm doing. If I leave all these monetary rituals that I'm doing, I would lose everything. My businesses crumble and I would go back to being poor. As I speak, some of my businesses started burning, my shops started burning, and some of my cars are meeting accidents, and the insurance companies say that there is no way they could repair them.
Dear listeners, right there was a narration of a voice note that we received. It was a narration that was done by one of our admins who is here in Zim. So this voice note that was sent to us by one of our dear listener, he could not even finish off recording his voice note because he kept on crying at the moment when he said that he regularly sees the spirit of his mother. That was when he said that he even felt that when he was recording his story, it was like the spirit of his mother was just standing next to him. Strange things do happen in this world. If you have any story that you want to share with us, please do not hesitate to contact us via our email address or via our WhatsApp number.